Hello. In this video, we are going to tackle a subject that I think a lot of people will be interested in, and that is how to write content people are interested in. First of all, content is nothing if there's no interest. A few years ago, people would write content pretty much solely for search engine optimization. You could do keyword research and then write content based only on those keywords and rank. And the whole point of that content was not to be interesting or entertaining or provide value. The whole point of the content was just to help the website rank. Obviously, Google didn't really like that because it meant the website's ranking on page one weren't valuable at all. They just had awful content. So they made a few algorithm updates, and nowadays, if your content isn't interesting, well, let's just say content for the sake of content, which is to say writing lots of articles just so you can have content on your website, even if it's not interesting or not valuable or whatever, that's going to most likely hurt you more than it's going to help you. On the other hand, if you write content that is interesting, that does provide value, due to the new social web and how connected everyone is, articles like that will spread very quickly. You'll get a lot of traffic. You'll get a lot of credibility, and eventually, remember the whole point of this is to get your brand up, get your name out there, get your store out into the World Wide Web. Eventually, it will lead to new customers. So this is mainly for your blog. It's about connecting to new types of customers through writing content that people find very interesting. Then as a side effect, they'll be on your store and browsing your products. So let's get into it. So what is interesting? To put it really shortly, interesting equals value. People find things that are highly relevant to them, highly valuable to them, interesting. And obviously, it's what's in it for me. That's why I do anything online or in my entire life. What's in it for me? What's going to help my life? So I've created 5 pillars for interesting content, which is basically if your content falls under any of these pillars, it's going to be interesting. Now, these pillars compound to some degree. So if you have content that contains multiple pillars in it, then it's going to be a lot more effective than just one of them. And I think you'll see what I'm talking about as soon as we get into this. So pillar number 1, content that provides value mainly through an aha moment. So this means you're reading the article, suddenly you read a sentence and it just like changes everything. Suddenly what you thought you knew about the subject or what it was talking about changes, or you learn a new insight which changes your life. An aha moment. For an example, the blog foreverjobless.com. Here's 2 sentences that I think provide an aha moment. Often, the money as an entrepreneur is made by seeing opportunities other people can't. This is a practicable skill set. It's just not practiced by many. So where's the aha moment in that? Well, most people wouldn't view seeing opportunities as a practicable skill set. They would say, oh, some people are just born with it. Some people can find opportunities while other people can't. Well, in this paragraph, it's blatantly saying, no, anyone can find opportunities, but you have to practice. So it's like, aha, so I can be one of those people that finds opportunities if I practice. It's interesting. Pillar number 2, content that comes from a credible source. Now, this is a pretty obvious one. If you content that's produced by people who have already produced interesting content, who have done something of value in the world, is going to be pretty much guaranteed interesting no matter what that content's talking about. So in the make money online, internet marketing, business space, what have you, 3 names that immediately come to mind are Tim Ferriss, Seth Godin, and Mark Cuban. Practically anything that these people produce is going to be a big hit, get lots of comments, lots of social shares. People are going to be talking about it almost no matter what. Even if Tim Ferriss wrote the most boring article on the planet, he'd still get a bunch of comments and shares and whatever just because he's Tim Ferriss. Same goes with Seth Godin, Mark Cuban, and any other leader in that space. Pillar number 3, content that is chock full of usable data. And pay attention here because this is probably where you can really stand out. Not everyone's going to be able to be a credible source overnight, but everyone has the ability to put a lot of work into writing an article that is chock full of usable data that people can use right away. And this is where you can really have an opportunity to write content that people will be interested in, even if you've just started your store or started blogging for your store yesterday, pretty much. Really great examples of this is Tim Ferriss, and that's another thing about Tim Ferriss. He's already a credible source, yet he continues to publish these incredibly valuable and interesting pieces of content, and that's why he's a credible source. It's kind of like a circle, chicken and the egg kind of thing. But two examples of that. Tim Ferriss, the slow carb diet. This was featured in the 4-Hour Body, and basically it's a diet that will help people lose weight. It's very interesting because the diet involves a cheat day, which is to say you diet for 6 days and then on the 7th day you cheat and eat whatever you want. And that was a really new idea within the mainstream dieting community and health community. So as soon as he published that, people could immediately use it and see its effects. It turned out to work very well, so people got a lot of value out of it. Another one from Tim is speed reading and accelerated learning. This is an article published on his blog, and it was also mentioned in the 4-Hour Work Week. Basically, in this post, Tim just teaches exactly how you can start speed reading within about 20 minutes. And it's full of everything you need, and you just read it, and then 20 minutes later, you're reading faster. That's all there is to it. That's interesting. People are going to share that. People are going to love it, comment on it. It's value. Pillar number 4 is content that contradicts a popular point of view. So if there's a popularly held notion, creating content that directly contradicts that notion is going to be a very good way to cause some controversy and get a lot of attention, even if you're very unknown. So for some examples of this, one is Steve Pavlina's article, 10 Reasons You Should Never Get a Job. This is his most popular article on his website, and he has a very popular personal development blog. As you can see, it was written in 2006, and it still remains the most popular article on the site. And that's because most people would say you should definitely get a job. But he says, no, don't get a job, and here's 10 reasons why not. Very controversial, interesting, people loved it. Another one, written by M.J. DeMarco, author of The Millionaire Fastlane. It's how best-selling authors fool you into losing the game of wealth. And this is an article about people like Susie Orman, people like Dave Ramsey, blogs like GetRichSlowly.com. These people who will tell you put X amount of money away every month, contribute to your 401k, save for retirement. Meanwhile, they're getting rich off of you buying their products. So they're teaching you how supposedly you can get rich, but they're not even following the own methods they teach, which is another big controversial subject because a lot of people believe strongly that the way to go is to get a job and then retire. And so this article comes out and just says, nope, anyone who's telling you to go that way is just taking advantage of you and trying to get rich off of you. So another controversial article that is very valuable and interesting. Lastly, fifth pillar is content that puts a new spin on a popular point of view. Now this isn't exactly the same as pillar 4. Pillar 4 was about generating some controversy. This isn't necessarily about generating controversy. It's more about seeing a popular point of view or some topic that a lot of people are talking about, but maybe not talking about as thoroughly or in depth as you think could be discussed. And so if you're able to find a way to add value that no one's really thought of before on that popular point of view, it's going to be interesting and people are going to like it. Some quick examples. StevePavlina.com, once again, how to become an early riser. This is one of his most popular posts, and it sounds pretty ridiculous, but he wrote an entire article on how to get up in the morning, which is a pretty popular topic that everyone has to deal with who gets up early. But unlike most people, he actually provided some real value and said, okay, you got to get up early. How are you going to do it? He gives an exact way to do it. ViperChill.com, internet marketing blog. This is about link building, which is a very popular SEO strategy. And he doesn't do anything really brand new. What he does is compiles all the best ways to really build links and puts them in one place. So it's no longer just about these random theories or just making blog comments or whatever to build a link. He says, here's all the reasons why you should build links. Here's how you build links exactly. Here's the methods I've used on this site to rank well. And that's one of his most popular posts because finally it gave people an all-in-one guide to link building. Lastly, StevePavlina.com once again, how to discover your life purpose in about 20 minutes. That's a big deal for a lot of human beings. What is my purpose in life? Well, Steve Pavlina comes along and says, here, I'll tell you how to do it in 20 minutes. So that's a relatively new spin on a popular point of view. Now I'm going to show you some other examples real quick, just two other articles. I'm going to go to my internet browser for this. Alright, this is by James Altucher, How to Be the Luckiest Guy on the Planet in 4 Easy Steps. Now most people would say luck is something that just happens to you or you're born lucky or whatever. That would be the popular point of view. James Altucher says no, there's 4 easy steps to being lucky, and he describes it in this article. As you can see, 163 comments, 2.8K Facebook likes, over 1,000 tweets. It's a popular article and for good reason. Here's one by Chris Zacharias, ex-YouTube employee. It's about page weight, and I chose this one because it's got an aha moment in it. Basically, he says in the early days of YouTube, their page weight was pretty high, and so when they reduced the page weight, they actually found that some visitors were taking longer to load the new site, which made no sense because they significantly reduced the page weight by actually 10 times. So what they found out is actually people in foreign countries were finally able to use YouTube, because before it took them like an hour to load a video, but after the page weight decreased it takes them 2 minutes. So suddenly people are able to watch a YouTube video, wait 2 minutes before it loads, and then watch it, as opposed to waiting an hour for it to load. And so all their data was showing a significant amount of people were taking a really long time to load a video. 2 minutes, that's a long time. But really, compared to an hour, 2 minutes is actually a reasonable amount of time to load a video. So this article gives an aha moment saying, look, there's other markets out there than what you're immediately targeting, and maybe there are ways you can tweak your service to reach these other markets that you didn't even really know existed. So those are two other examples of interesting articles which did very well socially and got a lot of comments and interaction. So the question is, okay, I've got these pillars, but how am I going to figure out what I should write on? And the answer to that is my 3 favorite sources, and there are plenty out there. If you read TechCrunch or Yahoo News or any news source really, you'll be able to know what topics are trending, what topics are hot. And the idea is to take a topic that people have discussed, obviously, and then write your own spin using any of the pillars I've already mentioned in this video to create interesting content based on topics people are already talking about. So my favorite places for finding hot topics are Reddit.com. It's a social network about where the best content is upvoted and it rises to the top naturally based on the community. Hacker News. It's very similar to Reddit, but unlike Reddit, which is mainly just a social and entertainment website, Hacker News is almost completely tech-oriented, startup culture, that kind of thing. And lastly, alltop.com is a website where you can see what the top articles are in basically any market or industry, so it's incredibly useful. So let's go ahead and build an interesting article. Let's figure out exactly how we would do it and how we'd write it. So for this, I'm going to go on over to reddit.com. Oh, just real quick. Here's what Hacker News looks like. As you can see, it's got all these headlines on it, and what you would do is you would find what niche your store is in, and then you'd look at all these articles and look for anyone which could potentially be related. So for this example I'm about to say, this example we're about to do, I'm going to say we run a perfume or cologne store. It sells perfume and cologne. And so it's kind of hard to know what's interesting content for a perfume and cologne store. It's like, okay, you could write the top 10 fragrances. Oh, that's really interesting. Great. But then what's next? You can't just continually write new content. So what we do in this case to come up with content is we go into an area where a lot of people are talking about that's related to, in this case, perfume and cologne. So that would be one idea is dating and relationships. That's very much attached to perfume and cologne. So we could tap into that market, which is constantly being refreshed with new stories, and people are talking about it all the time. It's an evergreen topic. It will always be interesting to human beings. We can tap into that market and write content based on that, and not only does that give us interesting content, it also opens the door to a huge market that is actually interested in our products. So just an example, we're on Hacker News looking for anything we can maybe relate to dating and relationships, which, because it's a tech website, well, you won't always get something like that. But in this case, we're lucky. OkCupid launches Crazy Blind Date. So it got 166 points, 162 comments, so that's a pretty popular one. If on our blog we could maybe publish something about how top 10 fragrances to wear on your crazy blind date or something like that. It'd be an easy topic we could do right away. It's relatively interesting and already has a demand clearly. Here's alltop.com. As you can see, it has tons of different articles. This is pretty much what everyone is looking at on the site. And for our example, we go to dating, and then it has everything that's hot on the dating world right now. But for this example, I've already scoped it out, and we are going to use Reddit. Now, there's two ways you can go about this. One, you can look at what's hot right now. What are people talking about right now? This is a really good way to get interest right away, because if you find something you can comment on that's already hot, people are already talking about it, it's already in their minds. So if you post an article that's very similar, that follows one of the pillars, maybe it takes a new controversial viewpoint on a topic people are talking about, or adds a new angle, or comes from a credible source, or has an aha moment, etc., it's already in people's minds. They're already going to be familiar with it. They're probably going to visit your website. But for this example, we're going to go to top, which is to say the top posts of all time in this relationships forum. And we're also going to filter it based on all time, like I just said. So this is a great way to see what the market is talking about and what they're probably going to continue talking about. Now, right off the first bat, we have, I just found out my husband has been cheating on me, basically. And this is definitely a very hot topic within this Reddit. There's more than one. Right here, there's another one. There's another one. So, oh, here's another one. So clearly, within the top all-time, there's at least 4 on cheating, which is obviously a very hot topic within dating and relationships. So how can we use the pillars to maybe create an interesting content based on that? Well, let's go back to the slideshow and we'll talk about it. So the top posts are on cheating. Is there any way we can provide interest based on cheating? Well, how do we solve it? How do we get rid of cheating in relationships forever? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Well, there's actually a way to do that to some extent, and it involves changing the entire model of the relationship you're working with. Instead of a monogamous relationship where it's only limited to one partner, it would be an open relationship where both people in the relationship can interact with members of the opposite sex in whichever way they want, instead of monogamous. Obviously, that's a very controversial topic, and not a lot of people are doing it. So right off the bat, we have one of those pillars. It's controversial, and it's a new spin on something people are already talking about a lot. Now, it also has an aha moment. Most people spend their entire lives just thinking that monogamous relationships are the only options they have available. So the aha moment is, wait, a relationship model exists where cheating is non-existent? Aha! But it's not complete. It's only a kind of aha moment because anyone could write an article on open relationships. Oh, it's a great idea, but does it actually work? Can human beings manage open relationships and still live happy lives? So this is where we come to the pillar of providing loads of data, practical data that people can use right away. And so what we could do in this article is propose that open relationships are an alternative to a monogamous relationship. And we could interview 30 people currently living with open relationships and provide all the positives and negatives they have. So suddenly we have this huge amount of data from people really living this type of lifestyle. It's already controversial, it's a brand new spin, and of course if you're credible, it's icing on the cake, but with something of this amount of value, it's got an aha moment, it's got tons of data, it's controversial, it's going to be interesting practically no matter what. And remember, we chose this topic based on what tons of people were already talking about. So with this article, it's pretty easy to say that we'd at the very least generate a lot of interest. Depending on how it gets shared and where you post it, it has a chance to go viral. That's something we're going to be talking about on another video. But the fact of the matter is, it follows almost all the pillars I talked about, and if you're credible, it does follow all of them. And right off the bat, it gives you something that you can work with, that people will share, they'll comment on. Even if they're like, wow, this is the craziest thing ever, I would never do anything like this, well, you've still got an emotional response from them. And this is how you create content that's interesting. So that's a practical example. Now, there are other types of content that you can use besides just written that will pretty much guarantee interest right away. Infographics are a new one that have been popping up in the past year or so, and they're really popular. Basically, it's taking data and compiling it into the form of an image, so data that would have been very hard to read otherwise in just text format becomes very easy to read in an infographic. Another type of content is a video, very similar to infographic. You take data that's very difficult to understand and put it in video form, so you explain exactly what's going on in the information, why it's necessary, why it matters, in a way that people don't have to comb through all this data to get to. Just a quick rule of thumb. With content, interesting content, it's really, unless you already have that credibility, unless you've already established yourself, the best way to create interesting content is to put a lot of work into it. It's to go to that pillar, like we talked about, chock full of usable data. If you can provide people with usable data they've never heard before, like the slow carb diet, like speed reading, data that will really impact someone's life, like 30 interviews from people living in open relationships. If you can provide huge amounts of data like that, it doesn't matter if you started your blog yesterday, people are going to be interested in it because it's actually concrete, real-world data. And so if you're just getting started out and want to write interesting content that will attract an audience, will increase the credibility of your blog, which will allow you to create more interesting content that people will share automatically, the best way to get into it is to provide as much usable data as possible. So that's it for today's video on how to write interesting content. It's obviously a huge subject that it's difficult to grasp, but using all these pillars you can have a good foundation for your article. Now, writing the article may be a different story, and that's why we're going to have other videos, and we do have other videos on how to effectively write an article like this. But keeping these pillars in mind will allow you to pick a topic that's great and will allow you to share content on that topic in a way that people find interesting. They'll share, they'll comment, and naturally they'll be interested in your brand, in your store, because they're on your page. You've gotten an emotional response from them. So thanks for watching.